and give me 25. I'm the gunny.
It's time for the gunny.
The quarter deck. Lights. Get online right now. You got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Hello, my bunch of knuckle-dragging, beer-drinking, hard-charging devil dogs. You're listening to The Quarter Deck. I am your host, Miguel, the Gunny Signs.
Get off the bus!
I do solemnly swear. That I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. You're listening to The Quarter Deck with Miguel, the Gunny Signs. Just a quick reminder that The Quarter Deck is now available on all the podcasting applications. So wherever you feel like listening to us at, you can find us there, whether it's Google, Spotify, Apple, all those different applications that you can listen to our podcast. We appreciate you joining us there and joining us every single week. Now this week on The Quarter Deck, it's going to be a little bit different than we have been doing it for the past couple of weeks. I know we've been focusing a lot regarding the VA, the benefits, but we're going to get back to that next week. This week, I believe that it is important to focus on September, which is the month that we focus a lot on suicide prevention in regards to veterans and active duty service members and the ways that we can do to help prevent and get them the assistance that they need. So we're going to focus on that a little bit this week and talk about what is available, what is out there to include with the VA. What does the VA have for programs to help with this situation? Our reading with the 1st Marine Division, No Greater Friend, No Worst Enemy, will go ahead and continue on with the next chapter and focus on the planning phase of everything that they have put together in order to get the division ready to head into Iraq. As we head into September, it marks the Suicide Awareness Month. And this is something that, a lot of people don't really look into or pay attention to. However, to me, as a veteran of the Marine Corps, it is very important that we actually think about and focus on what we can do as human beings to help prevent these from happening. Now, veterans by far are the leading number of people that deal with suicide. Now, the whole time that I was on active duty, we always had training on suicide prevention and what to look forward to as far as listening to individuals of things that were going on. And, and that really is something that we have to focus on, whether we're active duty or veterans or, just dealing with normal individuals and stuff like that, that you have to focus on and listen to those signs because, the signs are there. They're there, and we just have to kind of pay attention to those things to make sure that we have those things available for us to be able to get help and assistance from. The VA has the Veterans Crisis Line that is available to veterans 24/7. And you can simply just do that either by text or you can actually call to get somebody there to actually talk to you. You can either dial 988 and then press 1 and get there, or simply text 838-255 and then you're able to talk to somebody. As well as you can go to va.gov, our go-to website, to go ahead and make sure that you are able to talk to someone. Now, the VA also has a chat box on the va.gov that you're actually able to actually speak to someone. Okay, now how does this program actually work for veterans or service members that want to get a hold of a certified counselor when they talk to? Okay, first thing is that you have to understand that they are available 24/7. Somebody is going to talk to you. You just simply dial the 988 and then you press 1. You can chat live or text 838255. The next step is that a caring, qualified responder is going to listen to you and try to help you and guide you in the right direction to make sure that you're able to seek the treatment or whatever you may need. This call is completely free and it will be confidential, and You are the one that's going to decide how much information you actually want to share with this person. That person is not going to pick your brain and try to get everything from you. And lastly, the support doesn't end with the conversation that you have with the counselor. The responder can connect you with the resources that can help you whenever you may be in any kind of distress or anything like that. And throughout the last, years, even during the time that I used to work for the VA, there have been a huge amount of focus regarding veteran suicide. The VA crisis line is one of the most important things that you need to remember that is available for you, because they're going to be there to help you those 24/7 to guide you and find the resources that you may need to make sure that you are there. That is important, to have that, to make sure that we understand that, we're not alone. As a disabled veteran that suffers from PTSD, I can tell you that, there are days that are dark. Certain dates throughout the year that do bring back memories of events that occurred and things like that. But it's always easier to just sit by yourself and keep all your feelings hidden inside. For years and years and years, that is what I ended up doing, and just keeping everything inside and not wanting to share anything with anyone. I think that my wife is so stubborn and persistent that insisted that I go and get some kind of help, talk to someone, because not only did that allow our relationship to get better, but it actually allowed me to feel better about certain situations. And that is an ongoing thing that continues to happen. Through the VA healthcare system, they can, direct you to a counselor to be able to talk to help you with all those different types of demons or whatever may be going on in your life. Everywhere in the communities now, the VA has veteran centers. They have them out there, or they're known as vet centers that they have. And a lot of the bigger cities and everything else that are out there, they have multiple there. And that's what they're there for. They're there to help veterans and active duty service members speak to counselors and all kinds of different types of therapy that's available there. You can go to va.gov and see exactly what is available there, and you can actually check and see the location of these centers and out in your community to actually help you. And they can help you with all kinds of different things, all types of situations, whether it's PTSD, bereavement counseling, marriage counseling. And the good thing about these centers is that you don't have to actually qualify for VA healthcare for them to help you. So that's another resource that's available there for you in any kind of situation that you may need, especially dealing with any kind of suicidal thoughts or anything like that. That is one of the great resources that is also available for you. So one of the main things that, that me, as in my part, what I'm doing for the month of September is that I actually signed up for a 30-mile challenge to do with your dog. And I signed up through this organization known as the Stop Soldiers Suicide that is partnered up with USAA. Now, the goal is to complete 30 miles in the month of September to gain the awareness on suicide prevention for all of our veterans and active duty service members. Now, on our Facebook page, I do have a fundraiser that I partnered with them to do to be able to gain, or earn, should I say, earn $500 for the month of September in donations towards the organization to help prevent suicide. This morning, Gunny and I started our mission to complete our 30-mile challenge. Now, for those of you that don't remember, Gunny is my English bulldog. Everybody, they assume that bulldogs, or English bulldogs in particular, are lazy. They can't walk. They can't do all that stuff and anything. Well, since I got Gunny a year ago when my wife surprised me with him as a birthday present, we have been walking every single day. I think I started it when he was about 6 months old. We started doing the walks that we're doing now. We average 2 miles every single morning that he walks with me. Now, he makes it perfectly fine. And since, we are in Arizona, it gets hot. Right now, it's still hot here in Arizona. I think yesterday we had a high of 114 degrees. So we have to get up early in order for us to make our goal and get our miles in. So about 05 is when we sound reveille, and I get him up, get him ready. I get my 2-quart canteen full of water. Now understand that the water in my 2-quart canteen is not for me. It is actually just for Gunny. So I take it for him because I want to make sure that he has enough water to stay cool and he doesn't overheat while we're walking. Now, as everybody knows, English bulldogs can overheat very, very quickly. But I make sure that I have enough water for him. And not only that, he takes advantage of all the sprinklers that are on and throughout the whole entire neighborhood. Because every house that we go by that has the sprinklers on, I let him go in there and he gets soaking wet. He gets wet, he cools off. So we're able to actually accomplish our walk every single morning. Now, normally it takes us about an hour to go ahead and complete our walk that we do every single morning. And for those of you that are interested in our Facebook page, and I'll go ahead and link it onto our quarterdeck page as well. We have a tracker that we have on there of our miles that we track. And I'll go ahead and I'll put the link to the fundraiser page as well, for those of you that may be interested in donating to the cause of suicide prevention. He's a trooper. This morning we started our mission and we completed 2.5 miles. Now, for those of you that are thinking, wow, that's a long ways for a bulldog. I don't know. I don't know if it's a long ways, but ever since he was a young, not puppy, he was younger, he's still a puppy. So he walks perfectly fine. He doesn't get tired as much, but by the time we get home, that boy is exhausted. He comes in and flops on the tile and cools off, for the next 15, 20 minutes. So that is our mission for this month for Gunny and I, to get the 30 miles completed. And I think that if we continue on our pace, we should finish our 30 miles by the 15th of the month. But we're not stopping there. We're going to go ahead and keep going to see exactly how many miles we can actually get for the month of September to go ahead and gain the awareness towards suicide prevention for our veterans. So that's our goal. And that's what, we want you to make sure that you realize, that you remember that September is Suicide Prevention Month. Keep our service members, our veterans in mind, and make sure you pay attention. Pay attention to the way that they are. If maybe they lose interest in certain things, mood changes, things like that. If there are firearms in the home and you see that maybe your veteran that you are living with may have, a tendency to, get aggravated for certain things, or might be getting depressed, they suffer from PTSD. Make sure that there are locks on any weapons that you may have in the house. Keep them locked in a safe. That way, prevention is the most important thing. Now, I want to share with you guys a quick audio clip from the VA regarding gun safety. So I want to share that with you. And I thank the VA for providing this to make sure that it's there, and our veterans are able to see and understand some of the safety things that we can actually do to prevent suicide.
Hey, you made it. Come on in.
Wait, you look so normal. Is it loud over there in the war zone?
Are you sick of hollow gestures and meaningless nods of understanding?
But it was insane out there, huh?
Of civilians who think they know what you've been through?
I know you've been through.
Thank you for your services.
Are you tired of being repeatedly thanked and told you're a hero?
We knew we weren't going to win that one. Thank you for your service.
While you feel like a liability. Are you sick of statistics because you're so confident you'll never become one? And sucking up wounds that no one else wants to see? Crisis can happen unexpectedly to anyone. And though it may seem like a small barrier, a simple lock puts space between the thought and the trigger. Learn how securing your guns can help prevent suicide.
So let's take advantage of everything that is out there for us and go ahead and make sure that we're aware of our surroundings and take care of our active duty service members and our veterans. Those of you who might have a veteran at home, take care of them, watch them to make sure that they are going to be taken care of. And let's remember what September is, and remember that this is our Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. The Quarterdeck is brought to you by Miguel Science Photography. From the beginning of your family to the first birthday and beyond. Whether it's a retirement or a Marine Corps ball, Miguel Science Photography is there to make memories that will last a lifetime. Miguel Science Photography is a certified veteran-owned business. Contact them at miguelsciencephotography.com.
What we're gonna do right here is go back. Way back into time.
The planning process continues for our chain of command in the division in preparation to head into Iraq. And this week on our reading of No Better Friend, No Worst Enemy, we're going to talk about communications planning. How are they planning on communicating as the mission is being progressed and they move throughout the country? The G6 conducted detailed communications planning and preparation to support the division, taking maximum advantage of the Desert Schmichter exercises earlier in the year. This exercise series closely resembled the communication distances that the division would experience in Iraq. Colonel Nick Petroni directed the planning efforts of Major Tom Davis, Major Pete Copeland, Chief Warrant Officer Bruce Geer, and many other Marines who would take these lessons learned and apply them to future communication support. For example, the Desert Schmichter exercise demonstrated the importance of radio retransmission teams for extended line-of-sight communications. Now that's always very important because the way that the communication systems works is they mostly all work by line of sight. So in other words, the antenna has to have line of sight to the other antenna to get the best communication that they can possibly get. Now this is one thing that I used to always complain to our communication staff in COIC, because those of us that are always deal with comm chiefs, as we call them, comm always goes out because any little thing can actually knock comm out, whether it's line of sight and so forth and everything else. But we always made fun of them, and that they always told us, oh, it's the weather, it's the sunspots that are making the communication bad and so forth. So that's why it's very important that these retransmission sites or retrans sites were put into place. Now, it also identified the importance of high frequency or HF radio and ultra HF or UHF tactical satellite communications. This training was further enhanced through the CG's mandated weekly HF and UHF tactical satellite radio training for all division units. One of the division's major communications enhancements was the arrival of the Secure Mobile Anti-Jam Reliable Tactical Terminal, or SMART-T. This equipment was fielded to support the division and RCTs. It was a secure data transmission system that allowed email, tactical phone, and data connectivity between major and command and control nodes. With SMART-T, the Marines of the division processed an organic satellite data transmission system with the operational agility and speed of support that could keep up with the division's high operation tempo. This new technology significantly enhanced the division's flexibility to provide phone and data support without concern for terrain limitations or extended retransmission strategies. So imagine that. Technology at its best, right? Now, I remember that we used to use satellite phones a lot when we were down there in Iraq, when I was down there in 2003 during this whole time frame. And I think I can remember that I was able to use the satellite phone only one time to be able to call home. And the only reason I did that is because one of my best friends was working in the regimental CP with the commanding officer down there, because he was the career retention specialist, and he was able to get access to the satellite phone, and he allowed me one day to be able to actually make a phone call home. Now, even though that when I made that phone call, nobody answered the phone and I had to leave a message, but it is what it is. So the division coordinated with the MEF G6 for combat operations support planning, as well as from training exercises in theater. The planning requirements centered the communication support of the division's forward CP in Kuwait. This would allow the division to have a command and control element in theater with communications connectivity firmly established in advance of any major division deployment. During these joint planning sessions, the G6 and the Major Chris Nelson laid the groundwork for what became the division's wartime communications architecture. One communicator victory was the successful argument for two different space segments, one for each AN TSC 93. allowing simultaneous data traffic for both the forward and main command post. This allowed for uninterrupted, sustained data communications across the division, even when one or the other division's CP was displacing. The G6 recognized that the standard table of organization for communicators in the division was not adequate to support the additional challenges the division would face. Multiple command posts, echelons, widely spaced life support areas or LSAs, a major division support area, a DSA, hordes of liaison officers that arrived without communication equipment, and other challenges stretched headquarters battalion's communications company to the limit in both manpower and equipment. One creative solution was the activation and integration of the entire communications company from the 4th Marine Division. In addition of these Marines made the difference for missions accomplishments in the face of many of these non-standard challenges. The G6 resolved many of the communication problems encountered during earlier CPXs and incorporated the solutions into subsequent training exercises. Of particular note, the 9th Communication Battalion attachments to the division's satellite and terrestrial microwave teams began a rehearsed or habitual relationships. Smart T, the single channel radio training internal and divisional began to pay off as communications links were established and maintained with higher degree of reliability. Through practice, the division also conducted field video teleconferencing, VTC, with a high degree of reliability. Now, along with the communications, the public affairs also had to have a plan put into place to be able to talk to the media and so forth with what was going on. Now, the CG recognized the importance of the public affairs or the PA function and continually hammered home the fact that by every action, the division would write its own headlines in the press. The division also recognized the truism, left unsung and noblest deeds will die. The division recently arrived Public Affairs Officer Captain Joe Plensner was faced with the daunting task of creating a PA section from scratch. From the start, the PA section established a new focus for working with the media. The Marines dismissed words such as handle, escort, and manage when talking about media operations. The CG exhorted commanders to win hearts and minds and adopt the media in the same fashion as a new private, rapidly integrating embedded journalists into the Blue Diamond family and give them complete access. And I can tell you guys, the whole time that we were out there, we had news reporters embedded with our unit. You know, in a way, they were just like any other type of individual that was there with us. But, now, to me, it was more of a distraction because now they were there. Sometimes you had to go out of your way to make sure their safety was also taken into consideration. And, that the focus in that kind of distracted us a little bit from our mission because now we had to have certain individuals or Marines that were just focused in following them to make sure that they were also being taken care of. So, nothing against the media. I loved having them there throughout the time that we were there. But, sometimes they can become a liability, and a lot of the units had to deal with that kind of situation. He encouraged his Marines and sailors to use interviews as an opportunity to show their courage to the world. The division viewed the media in every facet as an entirely winnable contingency due to the strength of the examples of the Marines would make in the upcoming fight. The PA section paid special attention to the local Southern California media that would be critical in keeping the friends and family members back home informed of the division's activities and honored without question any habitual relationship between a unit and reporter when determining the assignment of the embedded media. Preparing for embedded media was a significant undertaking accomplished during the planning phase. The PAO formed Public Affairs Liaison Teams, or PALTs, PALTs, specifically to address the Office of the Secretary of Defense's mandate to embed international and national journalists within tactical units. The PA section split into 4 PALTs allocated to each regimental headquarters, while the PAO maintained a presence at the main command post and division support area. Each PALT consisted of 2 NCOs whose primary mission was to assist the regimental commands in facilitating the embedded media access and reporting. The PAO set a regimental command in facilitating these embedded reporters. Now, the media embedded cap of 80 journalists, approximately 4 per battalion, but adjusted this upward later with the support of the battalion commander. Many major news organizations contacted the division for embedded media opportunities, and many experienced war correspondents that had worked with Marines in Afghanistan, they were brought on board, as well as novice reporters experiencing combat for the first time. So think about that for 1 second. And I know that I dealt a lot with media, especially in my schooling that I conducted with the Academy of Art University throughout the Communications and Media Technologies Department. And we talked a lot about reporters being embedded and stuff like that. But these were individuals that have never, ever been in any kind of combat environment. Now, these are individuals that can't even carry a gun. They can't do none of that stuff with them. So this must have been a different world to them, because they're not used to any of that stuff and everything. And I never really thought about it that way because our main focus was for us to accomplish our mission. So I never really put myself in their shoes to understand exactly, what kind of, or what they may be going through. Now, the Central Broadcasting Service, or CBS, television requested to bring along their own commercial Humvee, hardwired with satellite transmission equipment, allowing them to transmit live from anywhere in the world. So, wow. Not only were the reporters going to be embedded with the units, but they requested to bring their own equipment and their own vehicles in order for them to be transporting throughout the actual combat environment to be able to transport this feed. So yeah, definitely I can relate to all this and think back about everything that occurred while having all these individuals with us and embedded with us, and the communications was able to get through there. And one of the things that was actually very helpful for us was because the reporters had satellite phones that they were able to communicate back their reports, their stories. And a lot of these individuals were very helpful because they actually allowed the Marines to be able to use their phones to make phone calls every once in a while to get a hold of their families back home. Because other than that, if you didn't have the luxury of speaking to a reporter or knowing someone in the battalion headquarters element that will allow you to use the phone, everything was done by snail mail. You would have to write a letter, send it home, and hope that it would get there as soon as it would. Now, I can remember that, I wrote letters back home and I wrote them on pieces of cardboard because all you had to do was, that it was coming from you from a combat environment, and the U.S. Postal Service would handle the postage or whatever it needed to, and they would send it on down back home to your loved one. So that was a plus. But as we can see, things are starting to come more into place. Communications is important. The public affairs was getting into place, all that stuff. And next week, we're going to go ahead and focus on the deployment readiness as far as getting ready to actually head out there and get in there to liberate the people of Iraq from the tyranny of Saddam Hussein.
The quarterdeck.
There are so many resources and so much information that is out there for our veterans and their families and things that they can look forward to get them the help, the assistance, or anything that they may need after they get out of the service. We're going to continue our talking next week about different VA benefits, and I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Go to my Facebook page and let me know which one you guys actually want to discuss. But let's remember this month of September And remember that this is the month that we do something about suicide. It's Suicide Prevention Month, that we want to make sure that we focus on the resources, the help that we can get our veterans, our service members that truly need assistance, and that we can guide them in the right directions for them to get the help that they need. Because the help is out there. We just have to make sure that they get out there and get the help. You know, if it worst comes to worst, simply just talk to someone. Talk to the veteran that you may see having a hard time. You never know that insignificant conversation that you have with an individual, how that is actually going to be able to help them that day. Just simply asking them, how are you doing? That short little conversation can make a huge difference. Especially if someone is out there that, you know, that truly just needs someone to talk to. That one little conversation that you have with them can make that huge of a difference. So let's remember this month. Let's do our part in remembering suicide prevention and with our veterans, but not only our veterans, but anybody out there that has dealt with any kind of suicide or anything like that in their family, in their units, or any kind of situation like that. Our reading of our book, No Greater Friend, No Worst Enemy, is moving along. And next week, we're going to talk a lot more about actual unit readiness. You know, what do they have to do to actually get their unit ready to go to deploy? What are some of the things that they have to have done, have to have completed in order to get ready to actually head out on that plane and get into that combat environment? And oh boy, do I have some stories about preparing, getting ready, and all those things. And we'll share a lot of those with you next week, as well as I look forward to seeing some of your guys' stories. Let me know your stories about what your units did in order to prepare and to get ready to deploy out there to Iraq, to Afghanistan, wherever you might have gone throughout this whole process as the 1st Marine Division was getting ready to head out there. So once again, thank you everyone for joining me this week on the Quarterdeck. And just a reminder that we are available on all of the podcasting applications that are out there. You can simply Google the Quarterdeck with Gunny Signs and it will show you all the links to all our podcasting sites that we are available in. So that way you do not miss a single episode of the Quarterdeck. I hope that everyone has a great week. Enjoy your weekend. This is the Gunny sounding Liberty Call.
Get off the bus!
I do solemnly swear. That I will support and defend
The Constitution of the United States.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.